All right, it's Illinois in Focus Daily. Good morning on this Thursday, a full work week after last week's holiday week, and plenty for us to tackle today. And thank you for joining us each and every weekday morning here with the Center Square as we give you things to think about and to understand in the state of Illinois. I'm Greg Bishop. I'm the editor of Illinois at the Center Square. You can go to thecentersquare.com, sign up for the newsletter to get headlines in your inbox each morning. But weekday mornings, you can wake up with us here with Illinois in Focus with the Center Square on YouTube, so be sure to stay plugged in. A lot of people find the show just by stumbling upon it on the feed on YouTube, especially when we focus in on Chicago. Gosh, you guys are pouring in for that information, so we'll do what we can to highlight that more. But obviously, the State House is where we have a lot of our focus, but clearly we've also got to look at what's going on in Congress as Illinois and immigration enforcement took a spotlight in one particular hearing yesterday. We'll highlight that. We'll also talk about the SNAP fight, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program funding, and the federal government wanting more information from states, getting cooperation from a whole bunch, but states like Illinois with Governor J.B. Pritzker saying they don't want to hand over that information. They feel that people getting those benefits should have some privacy. So we'll hear a little bit of that, and also conversation about guaranteed income, pilot program in Cook County continuing, and some reactions to that, including a Democrat state lawmaker looking to stop taxpayer funds for going towards basic income or guaranteed income pilot programs. So we'll also have some information about that. But up next, we're going to talk live with U.S. Congresswoman Mary Miller. She's on standby. So one brief break here, and we'll be talking with her about a whole host of things. So stay tuned. It's right here with Illinois in Focus Daily each and every weekday morning with the Center Square. Federal government was closed for 40 plus days, reopened not too long ago, and that fight is going to rear its head back around here soon as the discussion in Congress seems to focus on affordability and health care and Affordable Care Act subsidies and credits. But what else is going on in Congress that we need to know about? Let's connect now with U.S. Congresswoman Mary Miller here for Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop with you each and every weekday morning here for the Center Square. Congresswoman, thanks for taking time with us. Obviously, a lot going on with you guys in session, only for a handful of days before the Christmas break. What's top of the mind right now for you guys?
Well, supporting President Trump's agenda, which the American people wanted. They want to restore law and order. And J.B. Pritzker on every issue he is not siding with the citizens in Illinois. He is rolling out the red carpet still for illegals. You can come to the state and get all kinds of benefits. You can get a driver's license, a CDL license. You can get SNAP benefits. And J.B. Pritzker is again flouting federal law. He is required now to cooperate with the USDA. We want to look at who has signed up for SNAP payments. I'm on the House Ag Committee, and I fought very hard, and we were able to include in the Working Families Tax Cut bill that illegal aliens are no longer eligible to receive SNAP benefits.
Congresswoman, obviously, you've got the governor pushing back on this, talking about how there needs to be, privacy for these individuals. The state's Department of Human Services that facilitates these SNAP payments are saying it's going to cost Illinoisans hundreds of millions of dollars in helping manage the SNAP program under new federal law, but also the error rate. Illinois has an 11.56% error rate. Most of that, 10+% coming from overpayments. How significant is this to the Illinois taxpayer that this gets dealt with, and any of that fraud that the USDA is talking about gets snuffed out?
This is a big deal. And besides the error rate being outrageous, I am certain that J.B. Pritzker is enrolling every illegal alien that he can onto SNAP benefits. And what does he have to hide? We want transparency. We want accountability. Taxpayers are tired of being abused and taken advantage of. We want federally funded taxpayer benefits only for U.S. citizens.
Congresswoman Mary Miller joining us here with Illinois in Focus Daily, and a bunch of other issues obviously on the table for you guys to discuss over in Congress. One of the things that was debated with Democrats trying to keep the government closed was the idea of the health care and insurance reform, and wanting Obamacare subsidies to be extended. And Republicans alleged that Democrats were looking to give non-citizens health coverage. What's going to happen before the end of the month in January, when we're looking at a possible another government shutdown?
Well, there's a lot of ideas floating, but I'm glad you called it Obamacare. This is the Democrats' healthcare plan. They have ruined healthcare for Americans. And the one thing it is not is affordable. So we think one of the big solutions is to bring back more competition into that, and to quit making payments directly to the insurance companies. If you look at a chart of the profits from insurance companies, you can see it directly correlates to Obamacare and their outrageous profits at the expense of the American people.
When it comes to affordability, how quickly can we see these prices go down, or at least some kind of stabilization of health insurance prices, and not just health insurance prices, Congresswoman? I'm sure you're hearing from constituents. I mean, trying to find a doctor that's in network, and then having to, juggle in your head how much it's going to cost with your deductible and copays and all of these things just adds to the stress of an individual who may have a health issue navigating insurance. How can we really get this right in this country?
Well, one of the key solutions is to deport tens of millions of illegals that are here, that are using our healthcare system, using and abusing it. And J.B. Pritzker tried to lie to me in a hearing here at the Capitol, saying he didn't know how much we were spending on illegals' healthcare. We've spent billions of dollars just on the healthcare for illegals. Not only that, he sides with them. We have criminals in our state, and he is refusing to cooperate with ICE to get those people out. And I've talked to victims' families. This is terrible. Then he's giving them driver's licenses and even CDL licenses. In every way, he is supporting lawlessness and Americans last.
Congresswoman, you kind of went right into the next issue I wanted to touch on with you, and that is the commercial driver's license issue. Got some numbers from Illinois State Police showing that about 1 in 5 of the CDL holders that they do an English language proficiency exam on and fail it are coming from Illinois, meaning 1 in 5 of these CDL holders can't pass proficiency coming from the state of Illinois. How can Congress actually deal with this and enforce that states make sure people know how to read street signs in the United States?
Right. Well, if you don't stop the funding to the states that are flouting our laws, they're not going to change. I have a bill the Safe Driving Law Act that will rescind half of the highway funding to states like Illinois that refuse to cooperate. Our highways are not safe. And I completely do not believe that number, 1 in 5. I have, in plain clothes, gone from truck stop to truck stop in my district, and I go to the cashier and I ask them this question: how many of the truckers come in here speak no English? And every single time they've told me almost all of them. And it's just outrageous. And the other thing, we have allowed illegals and foreigners to take these jobs from the American people. These used to be good jobs for people that didn't go to college. And we should restore the trucking industry back to the American people. And I want to go after the trucking companies is another thing that's hiring these people. And Illinois is quite a trucking hub. We've got so many freight rails that come into Chicago. And it's a trucking hub. Illinois is, and in the center of the nation, we definitely need to deal with this. It is a threat to the American people on the highways.
Congresswoman Mary Miller with us here with Illinois in Focus Daily, and obviously with the federal government trying to enforce CDL licensure in states. You're seeing kind of patchwork of states that are cooperating and those that may not be cooperating. What kind of communication have you had with, say, the Illinois Secretary of State's office or even the governor's office about cracking down on ensuring that CDL people being issued CDLs by Illinois are actually competent and being on the road safely?
Well, they won't talk to me. They're completely uncooperative. And finally, I do not believe a thing that they say. They lie without shame. And I think the facts speak for themselves. I've had multiple accidents in my own district of illegals that have driver's licenses and CDL licenses. And I've talked to victims' families. Not one Democrat has reached out to their family.
Congresswoman Mary Miller with us here with Illinois in Focus Daily. And then finally, as we're going to hear a little bit later on, there was a House Homeland Security Committee hearing yesterday about anti-law enforcement rhetoric and the damage that does. Your thoughts, especially since Congresswoman Delia Ramirez from Illinois being in that hearing as well and seeming to double down on some of the rhetoric she has against the Department of Homeland Security and Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
Well, she and I are on opposite sides of every single issue. She is an anti-American. She has gone to the microphone and said that she represents Guatemala. She does not represent what the American people want. We want law and order. We want the illegals deported. We want taxpayer benefits only for American citizens. We want voter ID laws, and she opposes all of that.
Congresswoman Mary Miller, greatly appreciate you taking the time with us this morning. We'll definitely talk again in the near future. And when are you guys leaving Washington, D.C. and coming back into the district?
Later on this afternoon.
Wow. All right. Well, and is it back to work next week as well?
Yes.
Okay. So
I'm looking forward to it. We have a lot of work to do. President Trump works tirelessly, and I'm so happy to support his agenda, which is Americans first.
All right. Congresswoman Mary Miller, greatly appreciated again. We'll talk again in the very near future. All right. Be safe out there.
Take care.
It is Illinois in Focus Daily with you each and every weekday morning. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and wake up with us right here for more Illinois in Focus Daily. Illinois' Democratic rhetoric against law enforcement takes congressional spotlight. That's a headline you'll find at thecentersquare.com, the Illinois page. Good morning. I'm Greg Bishop, editor of Illinois at thecentersquare.com. And yesterday, in Congress, Illinois came into some focus with a hearing held by the Department of Homeland Security committee that is looking into public safety issues, and it was titled "When Badges Become Targets: How Anti-Law Enforcement Rhetoric Fuels Violence Against Officers." And you can go and watch this in its entirety yourself at the Homeland Security Committee's website, and you can even read some of the witness testimony that was provided. But let's just highlight a little bit here. Interesting to listen to some of the quotes that Republicans who control the U.S. House and chair this committee, they pulled some quotes from some of their colleagues, including elected officials from the state of Illinois. Here is a Mississippi Republican U.S. Representative Michael Guest talking about one particular quote, and followed up by another particular quote from yesterday's hearing. Here you go. And fired off.
Governor Pritzker claimed the country is becoming Nazi Germany because ICE is grabbing people off the street and disappearing them. Representative Ramirez attacked ICE as a terror force and later referred to ICE as a terrorist organization.
So Guest just had a whole slew of different quotes up there, and you can see them in this freeze frame, talking about Governor J.B. Pritzker's claim. Go down a few, and there's Illinois Congresswoman Delia Ramirez's claim that ICE is a terror force. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson also on that list, accusing ICE of being secret police who are, quote, terrorizing our communities. So you had three quotes from Illinois highlighted in that. So clearly, Illinois was on the minds of the U.S. House Committee on Homeland Security. But Guest went on to question some of the witnesses there about this rhetoric.
Do you believe that they place lives in jeopardy? Mr. Hughes? Just yes or no. My time is short.
Mr. Chairman, all statements that are anti-rhetoric against police officers place officers in safety.
Mr. Thompson?
They are.
And Mr. Yost?
Absolutely, these and more, and I will say that you don't get to throw fuel on a fire and curse the very flames that you create.
Thank you. And then, Mr. Hodges, I also read your statement, and there's a statement that you made, the next to last paragraph of your statement. It says, the fact of the matter is that right now in the United States of America, there is a secret police force abducting people on the color of their skin and sending many of them via state-sponsored human trafficking to extraterritorial concentration camps. Mr. Hodges, I will tell you that that is a statement that I find extremely troubling and that I could not disagree with more.
So again, Guest laying that out and saying the rhetoric is not conducive to encouraging public safety. So he called out Delia Ramirez, a congresswoman from Illinois, former Illinois state representative, and she was in that committee and seemed to double down with some of her comments.
Bottom line, DHS agents lie. They act with impunity, they reject checks and balances, and they ignore Congress and the courts. The American people's anger and tolerance of DHS violations of our rights, that's what's the result of DHS unlawful, unaccountable, unconstitutional actions, which put the American people and our liberties at risk every day. Let me be very clear. The Department of Homeland Security, you can quote me on that, is the single biggest threat to public safety right now. You see, DHS agents are using chemical weapons, as you've seen already on footage, on protesters and bystanders by at least 49 times across 18 incidents in Chicago and the suburbs since October 1st. Since U.S. District Court Judge Ellis issued an order forbidding federal agents from using riot control weapons on November 6th, federal agents used chemical weapons at least 4 times later, including 2 cases where agents appeared to fire pepper spray into a moving car, possibly violating both the injunction and Border Patrol rules restricting chemical weapons used on motorists. Greg Bavino and the DHS claimed that he had been hit by a rock in the head before throwing a tear gas. But thankfully, there was video footage, and the evidence disproves it. And he ultimately admitted he was not hit until after he threw the tear gas. Look, the government alleged that Marimar Martinez used her car to assault and impede federal law enforcement, but then federal prosecutors themselves filed a motion to dismiss their own case. Why? Because while she didn't assault the agents, they did shoot her 5 times, and then they went on and they bragged about it. And you know why rank and file agents think that they're above the law within ICE, within Department of Homeland Security? You know why? Because their leadership, Kristi Noem, they think that they're above the law. DHS leadership lies, they act with impunity, they reject checks and balances, and they ignore Congress and the courts.
So again, Delia Ramirez doubling down on her criticisms, and Republicans pointing out that that's dangerous rhetoric and using that House hearing to raise that issue. Something else that was brought up was that Hanover Park police officer that ICE detained, a Rhode Island Democratic U.S. representative, Seth Magaziner, he highlighted that case as a criticism of the Trump administration.
Many police officers across the country, he is a legal immigrant. Yet, despite being a legal immigrant, Officer Bojovic was arrested and detained by ICE as part of the Trump administration's Operation Midway Blitz and locked up for 2 weeks before being released. He was legally authorized to work in the United States. He had a work permit from DHS. He had passed FBI and Illinois State Police criminal background checks when he was hired by the department. Now listen, we all know it is dangerous for police officers out on the street every day. Do you have any idea how dangerous it is to be a police officer in prison, especially an innocent officer who has done nothing wrong and committed no crime? But this is what you get under the Trump administration: chaos, cruelty, innocent people being locked up just to meet Stephen Miller's arbitrary quotas.
Again, that's a Rhode Island Democrat highlighting a case out of Illinois where you had a Hanover Park police officer who was non-citizen in this country, and you had the federal prosecutors and agents and immigration enforcement officers alleging that he had extended his stay here illegally and apparently released after 2 weeks. Now, the claim that this police officer was in prison, I don't know the detention facilities that he was held at for 2 weeks, but I don't know if it was in like a certain security type of prison or anything like that. It could have been at a county jail, but Illinois stopped allowing county jails to use as detention facilities for immigration enforcement, and that was with the Way Forward Act, which built on the Trust Act that blocks state and local law enforcement from cooperating with federal immigration officials. So you can see the layers of complexity here as you continue to go down on these issues. But regardless, the focus yesterday at that House hearing was on the rhetoric against law enforcement, and Patrick Yose, he is the national president of the Fraternal Order of Police. He said that things need to be quieted down.
Turn down a rhetoric. Turn down a rhetoric. Stop dehumanizing law enforcement. Recognize that words have consequences. And for people who believe that they act on those, that would be number one. The second would be pass the Protect and Serve Act. Give the federal government the opportunity, the Department of Justice, to step in under certain circumstances in order to be able to protect the interests of law enforcement officers and their communities with the increase in violence we're seeing.
Now, he went on to, in his public comments that were provided to the committee, he said that the Freedom Caucus is opposing that particular act he brought forward. And he also talked about how people who have concerns that this particular law that Congress has not enacted or moved forward with, rather, and passed out of the House, it would not make every attack against a police officer a federal crime, but it would allow for tools to be used to go after and to protect law enforcement. Yos said. So will that measure advance? Was that the purpose of this hearing? Obviously a lot of rhetoric was given on both sides of this issue of public safety. But sometimes, rhetoric gets into comedy. And you can see that Governor J.B. Pritzker back in October, he tried doing a little bit of lampooning of sorts, and it appeared on the Jimmy Kimmel Show, if you recall, on this particular clip
Special
from
report filed
weeks
by
ago.
J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois.
This is J.B. Pritzker reporting from war-torn Chicago. As you can see, there's utter mayhem and chaos on the ground. It's quite disturbing. The Milwaukee Brewers have come in to attack our Chicago Cubs. We've seen people being forced to eat hot dogs with ketchup on them. And our deep dish pizza, has gone shallow. So it's a challenge to survive here in the city of Chicago, but there's no hellscape that I'd rather be in.
Well, thank
So
you.
again, you can see that, and he's wearing a bulletproof vest in downtown Chicago in broad daylight. And again, that was back in October when he was lampooning President Donald Trump, who at that time was talking about sending in the National Guard. He did send in the National Guard, but it was blocked by a district court, and that court battle continues. But if you recall, during a holiday festival in downtown Chicago, shots fired in two different incidents with teenagers hit and one killed in those two separate shootings in a pretty busy area in downtown. And that came after hours of the governor saying, listen, it's not the entire city that's unsafe. But I'm curious if some of you live in Chicago and you comment below either on the live stream or on this video segment your thoughts on public safety in the city of Chicago. But the governor was asked about the video of him wearing a flak jacket, a bulletproof vest, mocking public safety in Chicago at an unrelated event yesterday. The governor talked about that after being asked if he regrets wearing that bulletproof vest in a mocking fashion when he was talking about public safety in Chicago. Here's the governor from yesterday, again at an unrelated event.
People that call Illinois a hellhole or Chicago a hellhole, people that denigrate our state deserve to be mocked, and that is what I was trying to do. The fact is that this is the great city in the greatest state in the nation, and we should be showing it off and not having a president of the United States who's denigrating it, by the way, with facts that are old or inaccurate. And so that's what I was trying to do, and I don't regret that at all. I think everybody needs a laugh, even in the midst of, frankly, the onslaught that comes from the White House every single day.
And it's Governor J.B. Pritzker yesterday being asked by a reporter if he regrets wearing that flak jacket to mock Trump when public safety is a concern for some citizens in the city of Chicago. All right, it's Illinois in Focus Daily. Each and every weekday morning, you can wake up with us here. Go to thecentersquare.com to get the latest headlines in your inbox. And you can also get this podcast anywhere you get podcasts. Just search Illinois in Focus Daily. All right, one more segment coming up. Tax dollars go to a lot of things. One of those being safety nets for society, right? It's food assistance, it's utility assistance, it's a whole host of different programs meant to help people when they need it the most. And one particular program that's been the focus of a lot of people on all sides of the issue is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. And should fraud be rooted out so it can be secure and given to those who need it most? And how do you go about rooting out that fraud? Well, apparently there's debate about that now. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Wake up with us here each and every weekday morning for more, and get the headlines in your inbox at thecentersquare.com. Just click newsletter and you can follow through and stay up to date with what's going on, not just in Illinois, but across the country. So yesterday, you had Governor J.B. Pritzker at an unrelated event announcing Illinois 250 USA celebrations. So America's turning 250 years old next year, and Illinois is going to play a role in a whole host of things, from highlighting Illinois' history in the United States. And yesterday, by the way, was Illinois' birthday. It was I can't remember which year it was, but 1818 is when Illinois became a state, on December 3rd. Anyways, so the governor held an unrelated event talking about all the events and things that are going to be happening. But he was also asked about supplemental nutrition assistance program funding, especially on the heels of Brooke Rollins, the USDA secretary, sharing this with President Donald Trump on Tuesday.
Very much a part of the national conversation during the Democrat shutdown was SNAP reform, food stamp reform. When all of America saw what so many of us know and have been working on, but when you have so much rampant fraud in a program that 42 million Americans participate in, now a big good piece of news that I hope is written about, since you became president, about 800,000 of those 42 million have moved off of food stamps, which is hopefully the plan, with better jobs, higher wages, etc. But still, when we found 186,000 dead people's Social Security numbers being used, 500,000 people receiving benefits more than twice. We had a couple of people receiving benefits in 6 states. In February of this year, we asked for all the states, for the first time, to turn over their data to the federal government, to let the USDA partner with them to root out this fraud, to make sure that those who really need food stamps are getting them, but also to ensure that the American taxpayer is protected. 21 states said yes, not surprised. 29 states said yes, not surprisingly, the red states, and that's where all of that data, that fraud comes from. But 21 states, including California, New York, and Minnesota, the blue states, continue to say no. So as of next week, we have begun and will begin to stop moving federal funds into those states until they comply and they tell us and allow us to partner with them to root out this fraud and to protect the American taxpayer. As Joe Biden was working to buy an election a year ago, he increased food stamp program funding by 40%. So now as we continue to roll that back,
All right, mute, unmute. Okay, so there you go. The button was sticking. So Rollins saying that they're going to start withholding these funds from states that don't cooperate, and that's cooperation coming from Illinois. Governor J.B. Pritzker was asked about it yesterday, again at that unrelated event. Here he is saying that the federal government's trying to weaponize food.
The truth is that the administration does not have the ability to do this, and I think it's reprehensible to use food and food insecurity as a weapon to try to effectuate a policy that is completely unrelated to it. Look, as you know, they've been gathering databases that are, people should deserve privacy, right? Whether they're a SNAP recipient or not, it should not be information that gets gathered by and then disseminated by the federal government. But you know, we're obviously following all the rules around SNAP. We always have. Nothing that they're requesting would reveal anything that's untoward about the program. And again, this is all about effectuating a policy that's bad for the United States, bad for the state of Illinois. All we're trying to do is feed people, and everybody in the United States deserves to have a decent 3 squares a day. And SNAP is really not very much money to provide to people. I don't know why they're going after this program. You want to go after fraud, I mean real fraud. There are lots of people who are Medicaid providers, Medicare providers out there that the federal government should be looking into to ask, you know, what kind of fraud that they're perpetrating. And indeed, that kind of fraud gets exposed every once in a while. But it seems to me they've taken people off of that job, out of the FBI and then other jobs like the DEA and ATF, all to move them over into immigration work that is ineffectual, inappropriate. We need comprehensive immigration reform, not hunting people down based upon the color of their skin. So I reject the idea that the federal government is doing something that's good for the country by gathering these databases, because we know that's not what it's all about.
So the governor seeming to not want to comply with federal law. I mean, it's federal law that they have to turn over this data. And they're going to start withholding funds from Illinois if Illinois doesn't cooperate. Now, how much are we talking about in Illinois? In fiscal year 2024, the federal government's fiscal year, Illinois got more than $4 billion from federal taxpayers to give SNAP benefits to 1.9 million people in the state of Illinois. And our error rate on those payments was 11.5%. And 10+% of that was, again, mostly it was overpayments. And who's that money going to? You heard Brooke Rollins say that they're getting information from Republican-led states that's allowing them to find and suss out the fraud, waste, and abuse to ensure that people who really need the money is going to get the money. The governor says it's not a lot of money. $4 billion is a lot of money. What happens if that's cut off from the state of Illinois? Can Illinois cover that? I highly doubt that. Look at the state's finances. I mean, the governor not too long ago said that there needs to be 4% reserves found in all state spending. And you've got the potential of hundreds of millions of dollars that the state's going to have to pay if it doesn't correct its SNAP error rate, and a whole host of other funding issues as well when it comes to the SNAP issue. So how all that's going to play out with a governor who's saying that they've cooperated in the past, and what about this new effort to try to root it out? And he says it's not a lot of money for an individual. It depends on, of course, the house and the household size and the individual's eligibility, but it's about $200 a month in some cases, less than that. But again, getting it to who needs it the most, right? I mean, that seems to be the effort from the Trump administration, is ensuring that they root out any fraud, waste, and abuse. But, the governor seeming to read between the lines here and talking about immigration reform when he's asked about SNAP benefits. Is that because Illinois is giving food subsidies to non-citizens? And how's the taxpayer who is also, somebody who may need SNAP benefits feel about that? So we'll obviously be watching this closely, but it's not the only thing when it comes to, your tax dollars and how they're used to subsidize others and create a so-called safety net. We've got this from Cook County, and this is the Cook County Promise Guaranteed Income Pilot. And this is something that apparently they're continuing now. So the Cook County Promise Guaranteed Income Pilot provided unconditional, no strings attached, $500 monthly cash payments to 3,200 low to moderate income families in Cook County for a period of 2 years. Cook County held an open application period between October and November of 2022, with payments starting going out in 2022 of December and December of 2024. And then they talk about how they had a program continue throughout the year, and now it looks like they're going to be moving forward with the program again, drawing Governor J.B. Pritzker's reaction after our reporter Jim Talamonte, the Center Square up in Chicago, asked him about guaranteed income. Is that going to be a focus that the state government's going to push forward with?
No.
Any other thoughts on the program for Cook County?
I think that, you've heard the old expression that states are the laboratories of democracy, meaning, that states can try things out that ultimately sometimes end up being federal policy, something good. Municipalities and counties trying things out to see how they work, I think is not inappropriate. It's not a policy that we're looking at doing for the state of Illinois, but on the other hand, sometimes things that you don't imagine would work do. I haven't looked at the data, so I can't tell you whether the program is an effectual program. I am concerned. I think that we should be providing jobs for people so they can earn a good living, and the dignity of work really matters. And so I guess I would throw that into the question of, is a universal basic income type program going to work to give people the dignity that they want? Ultimately, though, what we want is to make sure that people have the basics that they need in life, right? A roof over their heads, the ability to buy the groceries that they need to survive.
So again, the governor being asked about that yesterday, and a potential opponent to the governor in the 2026 gubernatorial election, Ted Dabrowski, he put out this statement on X about the, quote, no strings attached guaranteed income program. He says Cook County's recent decision to continue its no strings attached guaranteed income program into 2026 is a prime example of reckless, misguided welfare, and the Pritzker administration helped make it possible. He said low-income residents under the program received $500 per month with no conditions, no work requirement for the able-bodied, and no citizenship requirement. The monthly payouts are disregarded when determined eligibility for other welfare programs. So if you're in this pilot program from Cook County, that doesn't count towards whether or not you get other subsidies. It's just on top of that. Thanks to the 2023 ruling by the Pritzker administration that money from Cook County's program isn't taken into account when determining state cash, SNAP, and medical eligibility. So they carved that out. That ideological ruling made the fair distribution of scarce resources to the needy impossible. Now, Dabrowski says he supports assistance for those who are temporarily down on their luck or unable to provide for themselves, but he says when he's governor, he will do all he can to make welfare programs trampolines that bounce those able to work back into the workforce. And he says that he will put citizens first. No more social welfare programs for illegal immigrants. Normalize government dependency, as Cook County's program clearly seeks to do, is destructive at a time when Illinoisans, especially in Cook County, are already reeling from huge tax increases. Our compassion must be directed to promoting real solutions like more jobs, better schools, and more economic opportunity, not blind bailouts or handouts. So there you go. You've got Ted Dabrowski chiming in on the guaranteed income program as well. Now, a conversation we had with a Democrat state legislator last week, Chicago Heights State Representative Anthony DeLuca, he says he's got a program, a bill that would look to curtail federal or state tax dollars from guaranteed income programs.
Yeah, I did file it's House Bill 60, and I didn't file this recently. This was from some time ago, and it would basically say that it would prohibit taxpayer money from being used for a guaranteed income program or a credit to provide an incentive, a financial incentive. So it would prohibit those type of programs, and it gets back to the same issue about managing tax dollars. You know, people are paying a lot of money in property taxes, certainly in my area. Affordability is a huge issue. They feel like they're getting nickel and dimed by government at all levels, and when they see these type of guaranteed income programs, I'm hearing from my constituents a tremendous amount of concern. So what the bill does, it doesn't say you cannot have a guaranteed income program. You can have a guaranteed income program. You just can't use the taxpayer dollars to do so under my legislation.
I asked him if nonprofit groups would be able to do this.
Sure. And the unit of government could manage it.
So again, DeLuca has this bill. He's a Democrat. Can he get Republicans to sign off on it? Can he get enough Democrats to join Republicans and himself to get this thing across the finish line at the State House? We'll see if they come back in January, if this is going to be a priority he pushes, but clearly they're moving forward in Cook County with it, and the governor's kind of iffy, and opponents saying heck no. So we'll see how this plays out. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. Wake up with us each and every weekday morning here for more from the Center Square. Just want to test something here as we wrap the show up. Curious if anybody in the live stream, if this is your first time joining us after watching a clip, or if you're joining just this week after watching, give me a thumbs up in the chat, or hit the number 1. Either way, or spell out thumbs up. I'd love to see that in the chat and interact with you guys a bit more if I can. Of course, managing all of the feeds coming in and juggling that, it is kind of difficult at times to watch the live chat. But yeah, thumbs up, everybody. Appreciate you being here. Each and every weekday morning, it's Illinois in Focus Daily. All right, get the headlines in your inbox with thecentersquare.com. Sign up for the newsletter. You can also donate to the Center Square. We're a nonprofit newswire service focused on informing you on how you as the taxpayer are being impacted by your government. So a lot coming up, and we'll obviously be keeping you posted on all of it. All right, go to thecentersquare.com, subscribe today, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning. Wrap up the work week. It's Illinois in Focus Daily.